You do Friday at our house,
Okay, good.
but we just need to figure out a location.
Yeah. Okay,
As
perfect.
long as everyone in the room. Randy's house is fine. With
Yeah, Randy, you left her,
Oh, Randy's out of town.
I'm good.
Randy left his door open, so.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Help
If
ourselves.
everyone wants to trek
I'll give
north,
you
we
the
can do my
code.
sukkah, assuming weather permits.
Right. Well, some people might be down there.
But I'm all the way north,
Right.
meaning like Kins North is like a,
Right, yeah.
or anyone else, if you want a sukkah somewhere on a Friday
Right, well,
afternoon.
we'll figure out. You can host it if you want. I'll host it. You can do it at my sukkah. You guys go walk in and then you'll go share my sukkah.
You're hungover somewhere.
Yeah, I'll just bring you refreshments. So you guys can make a late shave. All right. So today is Daf Kuf Yud. Yesterday was Kuf Test, or excuse me, yeah, yesterday was Kuf Test. So we got to the top. So we're discussing. It's unfortunate Mayor is not here. So Mayor actually enjoyed and pay attention, and it was continue with that. So we had yesterday. We were talking about Nachlas in terms of inheritance orders, right? We tell Mayor new things, bequeathing, right? That was another thing he learned, right? The meaning of the English word. So we discussed, basically, we had a son. The pasuk sounded like the order of the psukim. If you just recall, I'll just jump in real quick. It says, the first pasuk says, when it mentions over there, it says, if he doesn't have a son, then it goes to the daughter. Mashma. That as we'll soon see, that's going to eventually going to be the source for the son is first, because it doesn't mention the son. It just says, if you don't have a son, the daughter inherits. And then if not the daughter, then the brothers. And if there's no brothers, then it's the father's brothers. And that.
It's the day after Yom Kippur too.
What?
It's the day after Yom Kippur too.
About this?
I knew you're gonna be jealous.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't break his fast yet.
Sorry, Ken did me for
Started to do, they do extra slichas, maybe they do extra fasting. Who knows? You never know what they. You never know what they do. And then at the end it says father, so we say, okay, insert the father, move it up, and the father is going to go ahead and basically jump over not only his brother, but also jump the brothers of the deceased to be right behind the son and daughter. So that was basically how we learned that She'ero, as reference to the father, that's where we left off. So we are 4 lines from the top on Kuf Testament Aleph. Ema. So Ema Shara Za'av. So let's say, okay, maybe Shara is referring to the father in the last pasuk, right? I point out those psukim. I think it was psukim Ches through Ches through Yud Aleph in the Midbar Chav Zayin. It says it there. Maybe that means that the father is not only ahead of the brothers of the deceased. All right. So here's how we're gonna do it real quick. We'll say like this. Yeah, I remember Menchies. My grandson is on my Menchies. But so you have, we'll say grandpa, son, grandson. All right, we'll go there. Grandpa, son, grandson. So now son dies, right? And he has brothers, he has a sister, let's say. He has a grandpa, grandpa has brothers, and he also has kids, right? So the deceased is the guy, right? Now, so maybe She'ero is coming to teach you the father, the grandfather, right? Which would be in this case, Malami Sha'av Chaydim Labas, that he would come before his granddaughter. So Yachol Yakim Leben, maybe you think the grandfather would also inherit his son over the grandson who is going to inherit his father. Tamalayma, therefore it says Hakarov Kaidam, right? In other words, we learn from Hakarov, the one who is closest. And the son is the closest to his father, not the father closest to his son. And therefore came into the Inyan Yibum. Since we find by Yibum, Ben Ubas Kiadadininu. So he says, no, you can't say that, because the whole reason why we say the son is close to his father is because if a person dies with no kids, so then the woman has to go ahead and marry one of his brothers. But if he had a son, right, then all is off. So you see, the son is the closest to his father. So the Gemara says the same relationship that the son, right, prevents the uncle from doing yibum. So to the daughter, does the same thing. If the guy's a daughter, it's the same thing. So Kevin, the and yibum. Either one, a child, right? Right. So Kevin, the yibum ben ubas kiadadinu leina nachla nami ben ubas kiadadinu. So therefore, we say that it must be the same thing. Just like by yibum doesn't make it a son or daughter, so too by inheritance. It also doesn't make a difference if there's a son or daughter. They both go ahead and inherit before the father. So Ve'ema, we're in the middle of Kuf Tesam and Aleph. Ve'ema Sheira maybe it means the father Melamed Sha'av Chaydim Le'achia Av. Maybe, okay, so maybe Sheira, like we said, is only brought in the last pasuk Yud Aleph, and says if the grandfather didn't have any brothers. Now remember, the grandfather is just the father in this case, just for our identifications, right? So if the grandfather didn't have any brothers, so maybe Sheira, then we said it goes after the closest relative. So maybe that relative is the father. So where it says, so maybe the father, right, or the grandfather will inherit his son over his brothers, over the grandfather's brothers. So where it says, and you might think they're closer to the actual brothers of the deceased. So therefore, maybe it says no, the brothers are closer than the father. So where it says,
Those are close to your father.
okay, so you're going to be questioning about. So where it says, well, no, to say that the grandfather comes before the great uncles, it's like tzrichi. You don't need a pasuk. Why? Who the whole relation of the father's brothers are through who? Right? The Avkai. They come from the father. So right. So Avkai Yaisi. So Achia Av. Right. You know. So he says Av Koi. So it says Av. So Koi Av Koyasi Achia Av. Right. So if the father's alive, you don't even need a pasuk to tell me that his brother should inherit, right, his own child before him because they're the uncles. He's the father. The only reason why the uncles are related is because of the father. So if you don't need a pasuk, that can teach you, right? You don't need that pasuk to come and teach you, right? We just said grandfather, even though it's the father. There's three generations there. There's the grandfather, the son, and then the grandson, right? So the Gemara says, but you look at the psukim in the order, right? Like we pointed out before last year. He goes, basically, if there's no son, there's a daughter. If there's no daughter, then there's the brothers. If there's no brothers, then it's the father's brothers. And then it goes to the closest relative, right? Which is reference to the father, right? So it must be, like we said, so the Gemara says, but why don't you do it in order? Just Torah could have been very simple, right? So you just go in order, right? Sons, right? Or children. We'll soon see sons, daughter, right? We'll soon explain that. Sons, father, brothers, uncles. Go in that order.
Father before the brothers.
Fathers before the brothers. We said it last time. Yeah. Because they had to jump, we went out of order. So specifically, it didn't need you.
Well, father wasn't learned specifically.
For the pasuk, that was the drasha, right? So we already inserted it. Just say that in order, right? So the it's not in order. It says sheira, which is reference to the father. At the end, the ksiv, it says if there's no uncles, then it goes to the closest relative, and the drush is that's referring to the father. So our answer is kreishle kasija ksivi. So the psukim, as we know, were not written in order. So that was one way to learn out how do we know that the father goes ahead and inherits his son. And we said, according to this, right, he inherits the son. If there's no children, then the next in line is the father. Now, the high time I see the mahach, and then there's other title that brings it from this pasuk. I'm just bringing psukim so I'd be able to see it. Those are the art scroll. That's right before the beginning of the parak. It says, Tanya, we learned in the Brisa as Darish Rabbi Shmuel, and this is how Rabbi Shmuel taught. The Rabbi Yaisi says each kiyamos so then aim low. So it says a man dies and he has no sons, right? So the pasuk says over there, pasuk Ches, it says each kiyamos so then aim low. V'havartem et nachlaso levito, right? You pass it the inheritance to his daughter if he has no sons. Now, the makom bas when there's a daughter atam mavir nachla min av. So let's learn over here. When there is a daughter, then you remove the inheritance from the father, i.e., the daughter gets before the child, right? Female child gets before the father. But it sounds like maybe, right? But you do not, according to the source, but you do not go ahead and remove the inheritance from the father in place of the brothers. So if a guy dies and he has brothers, but he also has a father and there's no children, it goes to the father, not to the brothers. In other words, the daughter only prevents the father from taking it, but the brothers of the deceased do not prevent the father. So therefore it goes children, then father, then brothers of the deceased. No, it is.
They said brothers are before the father.
No. That was the whole drush. The whole drush is we bump up, right, from children, because in the pasuk it says if there's no daughter, it goes to the uncles.
Right.
Oh, no, excuse me. There's no children, it goes to the brothers. And then we have a drush at the end, father. So where do we insert the father? It's a drush, we move him up. So therefore, now, once again, it's the same halacha, different source. This source is from V'avarta. Vema, maybe you can learn the pasuk somewhere else. Suggestion, Vema, b'makom bas. When there's a daughter, ata mavir nachla min achim. When there's a daughter, then the brothers of the deceased don't get. V'i ata mavir nachla min av afilu b'makom bas. Right? But maybe what it means is that that stops from the brothers. But if their father is around, then maybe the daughter can't stop him. Maybe the father comes ahead of even the daughter, one of the children of the deceased. So what it says, don't use the special lashon of V'avartem. Why you say the special lashon of V'avartem?
Means pass over.
Right, you pass over. So in other words, let me just tell you the words of the psukim. Right, the next pasuk says, so why is it throwing the word V'avartem? It's a very strange lashon. It's a different word, V'avartem, like you pass. It must be that you pass over, that the daughter is passing over the father, and that's going to be the drush. So now we have two opinions. One that learns from Sheiro, and then one learns from the V'avartem. So now let's see what each one does with the other one's psukim. Third line from the top of Kuf Tesamad Beis. According to the opinion, it says V'avartem. Hi Sheiro, my avile. What do you learn from the pasuk Yed Aleph? It says Sheiro, right? You give it if there's no uncles, you give it to the next close relatives. My avile. Look at the time on the Bryce. Sheiro is that ishto. It means the wife. Malamish Abal Yarish is ishto. That a husband would go ahead and inherit his wife. And the one who learns from Sheiro, the first opinion we saw yesterday, hi, Avartem, my Avide. What does he do with the strange lashon of Avartem? Somebody else could have tied it on the Bryce. It says, Rabbi Yamir B'chulan Nemar Behen Nesina. All the psukim we just pointed out say the word Nesatim, says from the lashon of Nesina. B'kan Nemra Behen Avara. And over here, it uses this strange lashon, peculiar lashon of Avara. Shein L'cha Shemavir Nachla Mishevet L'Shevet Elabas. Right? That we don't find that the inheritance will leave Shvatim unless there is a daughter, which we're going to point out at the end of today's daf. Situation where basically, the Torah does warn a woman, right? Do not, right, give over your nachla to another shevet. And basically, the way it would be is that, if basically a woman would inherit from her father, she's the only descendant from her father, and she would inherit that, and then she gets married, right? And then her husband or child, who is now after the shevet of her husband, would then inherit her. That would go to the other shevet, which we want to avoid. So there's going to come and teach that. So Elabas, Hoyel Bena Ubali Yarshinasa, right? Elabas, only a daughter, Hoyel Bena Ubala, since her son or her husband, Yarshinasa, could inherit it. Fine. And who says Sheir is referring to the father? Right? So the pasuk says Sheir Avichahi, right? This pasuk should be familiar to some of you, as Alan read it so nicely yesterday from the Torah. I'm just guessing. I don't know who learned it.
No.
Rabbi Reese? Okay, so Rabbi Reese learned it, right? So pasuk says,
No.
Sheir Avichahi, David Shiner.
David Shiner.
So Sheir
I did
Avichahi.
not get that.
Huh?
I did not get that.
Right. Yeah. So I would have guessed Asi, that's the truth. So it says Sheir Avichi. So there is the relative of your father. So we say Sheir is Avichi. So he wants to say the Amash. Look at the next part. Sheir is Ha'im. The Chsid is the Arise. It says Sheri Mechi. Right, is the relative of your mother. Samarava. So Rava says Amarkar. The pasuk says, and this is going to be a key pasuk. We'll see this concept a couple times. It says Mimishpachto v'Yaresh Isa. So it says over there. Right, my eyes are working. Right, it says right. It says V'im ein achim lo aviv v'nasatem es nachaso l'sheira hakorov elav mimishpachto. Right, mimishpachto. Right, that was pasuk Yud Aleph. That was the same pasuk as the third pasuk Sheira. It says mishpachto, his mishpacha. The Irish son, mishpachas ab kori mishpacha. So only the mishpacha of the father is called the mishpacha. But mishpachas a mena kori mishpacha. But the mother's side is not really a mishpacha. So if you're talking about in your mishpacha, that's what we're talking about. We're talking nachlos, and therefore the sheir, the relative, should be the relative from the mishpacha of the father's side, and not the mishpacha of the mother's side. Dechsil l'mishpachasam the base avosam. Right, they're family of the father's house. So the question is, I mishpachas hey mina kuri mishpacha boksiv vayhi nami beis lechem Yehuda mishpachas Yehuda v'hu Levi v'hu ger sham. So a pasuk over there is in Shoftim.
Shoftim.
And over there, it's described, I think, by Micha brought in this this individual. We'll soon see who he is. To do some avodah zarah for him, and then when it identifies that individual, it says he's a Levi mishpachas Yehuda. So how is he from Levi and mishpachas Yehuda? Right? It says who Levi, right? All right, who Levi will get Sham. How good Marta who Levi?
That's saying that Mordechai. It's Ishimi, from the Shady.
Right. So he's Levi. So Alma me Levi Asi. Right, we see from his Levi. I'm Mishpachas Yehuda, and it says he's Mishpachas Yehuda. Alma me Yehuda Asi. He comes from Yehuda. So Elalav, it must be the Avua mi Levi. It must be that he's a Levi because his father's from Levi, and the rise he called him Mishpachas Yehuda. The Yehuda, they come Mishpachas Yehuda. So you see, people also get recognized by the Mishpacha of the mother. Samarava Barav Chanan Lo Gavra Shemei Levi. No, his name was Levi, right? His name was Levi, but he was from Yehuda. Everything is Levi was a Kohen. That's right.
Yeah.
You didn't name any of your kids Yisrael, did you? No.
No.
Did you have a thought of it?
I said I've heard every version of this joke.
Yeah. See, I still say I'm a Ben Noach. So
Very good.
and I haven't been Levi, but yeah. All right. So we say Amarav Chana like Gav. So he says no. Gav Shmei Levi. His name was Levi. So he wants to see Hachi. It says over there Ata Yidata Ki Yativ Hashem Li Ki Haya Li HaLevi LeKohen. It says, right, I had a Levi for my Kohen, for my my priest to go ahead and do the avoda for the avodas l'chavim. The Gemara says, doubling down, says, the Shemei Gav the Shmei Levi. We'll say, his name was Levi. So now they deflect and give sort of the same answer that the guy's name is Levi. So he's still sure. So he still didn't prove, all right, the two different mishpachos. It says, V'chi Levi Shemo, because Levi his name, V'halo Yehona's son Shemo, but his name was Yehona's son. Shinamai the pasuk says, Yehona's son ben Gershom ben Menashe, who ubanav hayu kohanim l'shevet hadani. So it says Yehona's son was the son of Gershom. Now, some of you might recognize the name of Gershom, right? Who was the son of, he was most known for not getting his bris milah in time, right? So I think he was one, right? No, not him. That was
Unless
yeah. So it was
Elazar not Gershom?
who was the one who didn't get the bris milah?
Didn't have the bris. It's hard to even say.
So this is Gershom.
Gershom is second boy, but didn't have the.
Yeah.
So this is Gershom, right? Yehona's son ben Gershom ben Menashe. So we'll soon see. So Gemara says, who banav hayukom? So it identifies the persons as Yehona's son ben Gershom. So right now, all we know about this guy, it was Yehona's son. They kept calling him Levi, right? And from Sheva Yehuda, what's going on? Yehona's son ben Gershom ben Menashe, who banav hayukom in the Sheva Hadon. Ben Menashe, who we know who this individual was. He's not Ben Menashe of Haloi Ben Moshe. He was Moshe Rabbeinu's grandson.
Well, we do want to
Who?
put a state.
The Steve, also see. B'nai Moshe, Gershom Eliezer. Right? The sons of Moshe was Gershom and Eliezer. Menashe, since he did Ma'aseh Menashe, playing the words not the Ephraim Menashe, but the Menashe later on, who was an Oved Kechavim, right? To Menashe, he acted like a Menashe. In other words, we associate him with a Menashe, and now with the Moshe Rabbeinu. So Hakanami, so it's over here. Menashe, the Asam Yehuda, right? To Yehuda. So since he acted like Menashe, who that Menashe came from Yehuda, we'll say he was Mishpachas Yehuda, even though he wasn't really from Mishpachas Yehuda. And so basically, we've successfully deflected any kasha from Mishpachas Aim from being two different sides. So Amar Rabbi Yechna Mishum Rabbi Shem Bechai Mikan Shetailin Asaklala Mekulo. So over here we say that we associate those people or things that do cursed things to cursed people, right? Because we see that he was like Ben Menashe as opposed to Ben Moshe. And Rabbi Yisrael Chanina Amir Mehacha V'Gam Hu Tayar Me'oid V'Isa Yalda Acharei Avshalom. So it says, and he was also very handsome, right? And she gave birth to him after Avshalom. Yeah, he was right? So after Avshalom was handsome, also gave birth to Adoniah. Adoniah did not come from the same mother. Ben Chagis, Avshalom, Ben Macha. So they had different mothers. So why did he say it's from the same mother? Right? Since he acted like his brother was married with Macha, so too they associated him with Avshalom as a kilo. They had the same mother. And Omar, let's get the parentheses. Amar Rabbi Elazar li'olam yidvak adam b'toivim. Person should always associate himself with good people. Sharei Moshe, right? Who didn't? Shenasa bas Yisrael. That he married the daughter of Yisrael. Yatzimimena Yehona's son, right? Came from Yehona's son, who we see was involved at some point. We'll soon see whether he did tshuva or not. Is out with Avodas Kechavim, and so because it came from Yisrael. And Aaron Shenasa bas Aminadav, and Aaron who married the that he married the daughter of Aminadav, right? Who was righteous. Yatzimena Pinchas. Pinchas came from him, so he married. He had a good father-in-law, so he So he got Pinchas. Moshe Rabbeinu's father-in-law wasn't as good, and therefore Yehona's son came from him. So the Gemara says, Pinchas la Yisrael. I'll see, but maybe Pinchas also came from Yisrael. I'll see. The pasuk says, Elazar ben Aaron lokach lo mi benois Putiel. Right. So and Elazar, the son of Aaron. Right, he took from the daughters of Putiel, lo Isha, and Putiel is a reference to Yisrael, as soon see, right? And my love Dasim Yisrael Shafite Magalim Levodazar, that he was Peter. That means to fatten. He was known as one of his names. Right, it was one of Rabbi Eugen's favorite joke. I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand it at the time, but Rabbi Eugen
said Pinchas is the son, so they're making fun of him.
That's what the Gemara is about to say.
Right, so that's what I say. So that was one of his names, right? So one of his names was Pitom, right?
What was the joke? You're about to say a
I'm
joke.
about to say a joke. So Eugen said, so Yisrael had 7 names. He also had 7 daughters. So he said, each time he married a daughter, he had to, declare bankruptcy and so different names. That was like his little joke. I didn't understand at the time. All the years later, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. I didn't know how bankruptcy works. I didn't know how expensive weddings work, but now, it makes sense. Right? So instead of there, yeah. So he said over there that it comes from fattening. Why was one of Yisro's names Potiel? Because he used to go ahead. He used to go ahead and fatten the animals for Avodah Zarah to make it, a beautiful Avodah Zarah. So my answer is no. Potiel means the Asim Yosef, right? No, he comes from Yosef. Shapit paid for Yitzro, right? He was able to go ahead and fight his Yetzirah from Eish Potiphar. Balo Shvatim Avazim Oiso. V'Oimrim Risem Ben Puti Zeh Ben Shapitim Avi Imo Agalam Levad Zara. It says befavorish. We have the measures that says the other Shvatim, the other people around, they were Mavaza Pinchas when he got up and he killed Zimri. They said, see this person, right? The son of a fattener. He used to go ahead and he descends from the he who incurred Avodah Zarah. So you see, the Pitim is not necessarily a reference to Yosef, who was a good thing, rather a reference to Yisro, which is now once again we see that that Pinchas did not the descendant from Yisro. So your whole limud of marry good people, so only good things will come from it is not necessarily true. He married also from Yisro. Even though Pinchas could have been good, right? But you can't learn your drasha from there. So Yarug Nasi Shevi Yisrael. So such a person should go ahead. He comes to descend. He's descended from someone who fattened Avodas Kechavim. He should go ahead and kill a Nasi and from a Shevet in Yisrael. So Ella, rather we say, top of the page. This is today's page. So Ella, let's say, If we say that that the father, right, the father of his mother, right, the father, his grandfather was Yosef. So then Ima David Yisro, then the mother of his mother is from Yisro, and Iavua David Yisro. So all has by the mother's family. So the mother basically descended from both, right? So, but one was a farther generation than the other, right? The one from Yosef was closer from the of Yisro. So Ima Yisro, and Iavua David Yisro. Ima the Yosef, and if the mother's father was from Yisro, then the mother's mother was from Yosef. So indeed, that he did descend from both Yosef and Yisro, right? But nevertheless, since he was closer to descending from Yosef, so therefore. It's not a proof that you marry a bad one. Right, Tarti is Shmamina. That's like descendant from Potiel, two different Potiels, right? One that was Potiel that of Yosef, and that the Potiel of that of Yisro.
They have a problem with this whole Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Rami Obed Abli. So we're all in the
right descendants. Right. So but as it goes farther. As it goes farther, then then it doesn't. So the main thing was the first point was marry a girl, who's either the Yisro or or
how many generations of Moshe do you understand?
He's a grandfather. Two. Gershom, and then Gershom. He was Gershom's kid.
No.
Right. So it was his grandson.
Thinking of your other son.
No, right. So. And we're assuming he's actually also around by David Amelech. So yeah, I don't know the ages. So anyway, so Amar Rava, 4 lines to the top of Kuf Yud, today's daf. Amar Rava, Hanaisa Isha, also a famous drasha. Hanaisa Isha Tzarich Sheyivdog Bachia. Right, when it goes out and marries a woman, she go ahead and check after the brother. She says, Vayikach Aaron es Elisheva bas Aminadav achos Nachsha. Right? Aaron took Elisheva, the daughter of Aminadav, the brother of Nachshon. By the fact that she was the daughter.
The sister.
I said the brother? Okay, yeah, right. By the fact that he married the daughter of Aminadav. I don't know that she's also the sister of Nachshon. Who? So why did throw in that detail, which is no, right? So from over here, we see that one goes out and marries a woman, should go ahead and look into the brothers. I think that my Yossi spoke about this, my brother-in-law. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boss, but he's
Quietly.
yeah. So he said, he must have looked into me and Moshe, it's approved. So Tana, Rov Banim Doimin La'achya. So, and we also learned that most children, right? I was actually thinking back about this. A lot of it is true. Are similar to the mother's brothers. Fine. Next plus. Now let's go back to Shoftim. Let's do a little Shoftim work. It says Vayisuru, right? So it says over there. And Yisur Hashem vayomru lo mi avicha haloim mata oisa bazeh uma lechapo. So the people from the Sheva Dan, so they came over there. Micha had this guy working in his yard doing avodas kachav, and they says, "Why are you just doing it for this guy? We're going to take you for our Shevet. You're going to be like our big our Kohen." Right? So he said, so what are all these references here? Mi avicha haloim mata oisa bazeh malachapo. Summer low, la mi Moshe Asis. Understand? Right? Isn't your Zaidi? Isn't that Moshe Rabbeinu? The Chsi Bey. So I'll take of Haloim, right?
We know Moshe was the one.
Huh?
We know Moshe was the one. He died before we went to Israel, so we know Moshe was around to influence.
Right.
So.
True, but he still had good yichus. Right, so they use the word "altikab halom." So halom also was, when did it also say by the snap? But when Hashem said that when we first spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, it said the word "don't get too close." Halom and lavi Moshe Kosins and the Chsiv Bey ma zebi adecha. Right, when Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, it says ma zebi adecha. And over here they use the word bazeh. Right, and lavi Moshe Kosins and the Chsiv Bey v'atav ho. Almeidi Madi. It says over there that po, and over here they use the word po, right? It's Tasa Kohen Avodah Zarah, and so you come from Moshe Rabbeinu as all these references, and those they kept on hinting they're from Moshe, and now you're here to do Avodah Zarah. This is what I got from my grandfather, my Zaidi, Moshe. So a person should go ahead and do, we'll call it Avodah Zarah, we'll soon see what that means. And as opposed, at least make some money. So he says, I'm not into the Avodah Zarah, but I need a paycheck. A paycheck's a paycheck, and they pay me to do it, so I'll do it, right? So it's better to do Avodah Zarah, we'll see what that means, rather than go ahead and depend on man to go ahead and give you free handouts. For who's suffer, and what did he do? He didn't say for the end of the year, Avodah Zarah Mamish. He thought of Mamish meant Avodah Zarah. Right? Velohi, that's not what Moshe Rabbeinu says. Elo, avodah zara means avodah shezara lo, something that's foreign to him. Doesn't mean actual idol worship. It means better to do something that's foreign to you and make an honest living than than to snore. Kedamar le Rav Rav Kana. So natush nivelesa b'shuk v'shakal agra. Go ahead and skin a carcass in the shuk. And sell it to, do even if it's demeaning, better to get a paycheck from demeaning work than just ask people for free money. And don't say, hey, this is beneath me, I can't go ahead and do such a thing, or so since I can't earn a paycheck that way, just give me free money. Now Cave and Shara David, and once David saw Shimon beloved, he saw, hey, this guy's a hustler. Right, he's doing a Avodah Zarah for money. He's doing stuff for money. So since he's a Chavila b'Yosef, he appointed him to be in charge of the storehouse. As Shneimar says, Ushmuel ben Gershon ben Menashe. Here's what it says. It says Ben Moshe, right? Ben Moshe Nagid al Eitzos. He was in charge of the storehouse. He was like the treasurer. Shmuel was his name. Shmuel. His name was Yonasan. Rabbi Yechanan. Sheshav lekabachol libo. In other words, he returned to Hashem. No, we said his name was not Levi.
That was one of the thoughts.
That was Avin, right? First we thought it was Sheva Levi. We deflected it. We said, "What is his name? Levi?" Right? So it couldn't be. So we said,
maybe it's his name, or how do we deflect that?
So because we said Yonatan was his name, right? So what do we say over there?
Does the Navi tell us that his name is Yonatan per se?
Right. No. So he was a Levi. He wasn't from Mishpachas Yehuda.
Yeah.
Right. Because he was only Yehuda because Menashe came from Yehuda, and Menashe is Avodah Zarah. So Menashe came from Yehuda, so therefore we associate him with Menashe. The king, so by Yecheskel or whatever.
Right. Oh, you mean the king Menashe?
Right.
Yeah.
That's just like, right. Yeah.
He was the worst.
Right. So that's he was associated with doing bad things. That's why I said Ben Gershom ben Menashe. So it's all reference. They didn't want to go ahead and do them. Now, all right, 2 dots. Now, so we'll put that. We're done with that. Now let's go back to our Mishnah. So our Mishnah, as you recall from Friday. On Friday, we said there's 4 different categories. Category number 1 is people who inherit from one, and then they also bequeath to the others. Now, the first one was, we said that the father inherits the son. That was the first one. Father inherits the son. We had the 2 drushes, one from Sheirov, one from Mevarta. Now let's go to the next one. The Abanim Esav, and sons go ahead and inherit the father. So Minolan, from where do you know? So the Chsiv. Pretty easy. It says Ish Kiyamos Bechule. It says man dies, and there is no son, so the daughter inherits. Mashma Tama Dein Lo Ben. The reason is because he doesn't have a son. Mashma Hayesh Lo Ben. If he would have had a son, then the son inherits first. All right. Sommerle Rav Pabulabaye. Somebody says Ema Ikabel Yaris Ben. If there is a son, maybe it means like this. If there's no son, the daughter gets it all. Maybe it means if there's only a son, the son gets it all. And Ika bas tiras bas. And if there's only a daughter, as the pasuk says, the daughter gets. Ika benu bas. If there's a son and a daughter, lo yahiliras below lahiliras. Neither one go ahead and inherit. Mar says.
No son.
So let's see. Ella man Turn the page. So, Liras, right? Understand? So who's going to go ahead and get it, right? Liras to Barakasha Damasya, right? Liras. What are you going to say that the governor of the city,
State tax.
right? The state will take it. The mayor will take it. The president will take it. It just gets forfeited to the government. Understand? If there's a son and daughter, right? So Mario says, no, Hakakemi. This is what I meant for the Havamina. So Ika ben Abbas, maybe if there's a son and daughter, loy hali aris kulev, loy hali aris kulev. Maybe means that each one will not. In other words, maybe they both get together. They split it. Right. So if there's no son, the daughter gets it all. But if there's a son, and there's a son. If there's only a son, the son would get it. If there's only a daughter, the daughter would get it. Right. If there's a son and a daughter, they both get it. All children are equal. Right. 2024. All right. So he says Abaye says I the Mishvinan, Heicha the Leslay Elachad Brali or Saino the Kulu, Nixay. So I understand. So you're telling me that you don't need a pasuk to tell me that if there was one child, that child gets it all, right? That's obvious, right? So I wouldn't need a pasuk for that, right? So in other words, we need to easier call the machine and Heicha the Leslay Elachad Brali is Saino the Kulu, Nixay. Right? You need to teach you that? No. So obviously it has to come teach you some sort of chiddush. So the chiddush can't be, right, that if there's one son, he gets it all. So, and there's no chiddush that, so what's it come to teach me if there's no son? It must be that if there is a son and a daughter, it's not like you think. What would you think? You think they both get. So therefore, it's come to teach you that if there's a son and a daughter, the daughter gets nothing. Only when in the absence of a son does the daughter get.
Different, but talk to a general. And say, hey,
Alan, it appears like the malach didn't touch you, or you did some preparation there. Let's
again, that wasn't really a Yerusha. That's
As I already see, it's going to be another attempted source. Very good, very good.
It said being a low band.
Yeah, press that.
So we're going to get there, right? So that was at the end of the Taka. That was the Chavzan. You'll see Eddie, the sukkim we're talking about the bottom four from Chesed.
Yeah, right.
Is before that. We'll soon see. The Dilma Kamashmalan, the Bas Nami Basirushi, right? So maybe you think, maybe it's coming to teach you. Maybe there is a chiddush. Maybe it says that a daughter does go ahead and inherit, right? Maybe the daughter doesn't inherit, and now that's the chiddush of the pasuk. Not the chiddush of the pasuk that the son, if there's a son and the daughter, only the son gets. Maybe the chiddush is that a daughter is in the parsha of it, right? So the Gemara says, no, hahi mevchol bas Yerusha nachla nafka. That is learned from another source. The source is like this: when a woman has, when a woman has her, a girl should not go ahead and marry into another shevet, because then her Yerusha from her shevet will go to the other shevet. So how can a woman, a daughter, have stuff from her shevet and bring it to another shevet if she doesn't inherit in the first place? It must be a daughter does inherit. So I don't need a pasuk anymore to teach me that a daughter inherits, because we already have a warning: when you have stuff to inherit, you can't marry another shevet. So I know that a girl already inherits. So what's the point of this pasuk? The point of the pasuk must be that if there's a son and a daughter, only the son gets and the daughter gets nothing. And Ravacha Bar Yaakov Omer Mehacha, Ravacha Bar Yaakov says, no, why don't we learn the source for a son from here? Lama Yigua Shem Avinu Mitak Mishpachto, as from B'das Fachad. Zakiyeh Lo Ben, right? Why should our father, right, lose out, right, and no one, right, and not get, because he has no sons, right? Kiyeh Lo Ben, Satama Dein Lo Ben. Sounds like because he has a son. Ha Yesh Lo Ben. But if there would be a son, then the son would be first. So learn like this. They're saying if her father doesn't have a son, right? So why should he lose out? So they're questioning now. But are questioning, approaching Moshe Rabbeinu and say, why should we? There's no son. So mashma, what they're thinking is that only the son gets it. So I says maybe they only thought that was the halacha, But maybe when the Torah was given, then it was opposite, right? In other words, just because they thought that they needed a son doesn't necessarily mean that only a son inherits. It could be that the halacha changed right after they give it. So rather, it must be like our original teretz, that from the original source of if there is no son, then the daughter gets mashma, but if there is a son and a daughter, then only the son gets. And Ravina Amar Mihacha. Ravina says, no, I have another source. Let's learn like this. It says, Hakarav Ela, it says Hakarav. Elav, Hakarav Karav Kaidam, the one who's closest first. So Umai Kurva de Ben. All right, mibas. So we say, how do we know that the son gets over the son inherits, right, and not the daughter? So ma korva de ben mibas shechein kam tachas aviv liyada u'lisrech uza. Because we see that we mentioned these halachas also last time that a son comes from a yud. If the father has an ama ivri and he wants to go ahead and marry her, he can go ahead and just marry her. The father can do it if he wants because he already gave her the kesef for the avdus. But for being an Am Ivra. And not only that, he's allowed to go ahead and give this maidservant to his son for him to marry, and it does not require Kesef Kedushin. In other words, the son is in lieu of the father. You see, the son is very close to the father. Also, we see by ancestral land that the father goes ahead and as makdish it, the son can be in his place and redeem it. So the son is very close to the father, as we see by these two halachas. And the daughter is not like that. So therefore, the son is closer than the daughter. And the Torah says the relative who's closest, i.e. the son, he should get it all. So the Torah says, what kind of proof is this? My cover the says, first of all, I understand your brother. So first of all, you're talking about taking the Amma Ivriya in marriage. That's shaykh to the daughter. The daughter can't marry the Amma Ivriya. So you're right. All right, it's true. So he say, but there's no shaykhus, so you can't use that as a step up, right, to that. And second of all, stechuza, and what's the whole point that we just said earlier? What was the whole svara by stechuza? Why the son can do it and not the brothers or the relatives? May I pircha gufu, right? Right? Because the whole point is the son is the closest, is because maybe the brothers are close. So he said, no, the brother wouldn't have yibum if there was a son in the first place. The son overrides the brother. So you see the son is the closest, and therefore the son is part of stechuza. You know who else has the same svara? The bas. If a man has a bas, has a daughter, the brothers also take a hike. There is no yibum. So according to that svara, right, the same svara that the ben is part of the stechuza, so is the bas part of the stechuza. So why do you think that the ben is ahead of the bas when it comes to Yerusha? Rather, it must be like our first source of the fact that the Torah says, if there is no son, then the daughter gets it all. Mashma, but if there was a son, the son gets it all, even with a daughter around. Or v-boy. Same on Mehacha, you can see over here. It says over there, you inherit down to your sons. So the sons get it and not daughters. So the Gemara says, we learn over there that your sons and not your daughters. So Elamiata, any place that says B'nai Seichem, it's literal and it excludes B'nai Seichem. Elamiata, Laman Yirbu Yimeichem, Yimei B'neichem. In order to go ahead, a bracha for, I guess, following the mitzvahs, right? In order to lengthen your days and the days of your sons. So what do you mean? You only lengthen the days of your sons and not the days of your daughters? So our answer is bracha shani. When it comes to giving a bracha, that is referring to every b'neichem is lav dafka. But when it comes over here, right? In our case, for inheritance, when it says b'neichem, that excludes b'nai seichem. Fine, 2 dots. So we've covered father inherits the son inherits the father. Who else was in that? The brothers, right? Someone dies and he has no kids, and his father was already deceased, but he has brothers. The brothers inherit him, and so too, if they die and they don't have father and sons, he inherits his brothers. So we learn brothers. So in other words, why do we know only paternal brothers, right? We know that from Bnei Yaakov. from the sons of Yaakov. Now, it was known Yaakov Avinu had 12 sons, right? But they were not all brothers from the mothers, right? 4 different mothers, but they're all 12 brothers, right? So just like, because when they came to Mitzrayim, it says there you were 10 brothers, right? 10 brothers. There's 3 brothers here. This guy doesn't have a brother. His brother's back, so but calls them brothers, right? So it says Avkan minav. So to over here it means brothers. When we ever talk about brothers, it means from the father.
But that just wasn't Matthias, that they were brothers, from same father. Maybe it was mothers, they would call them brothers too. You don't, just because they're called brothers, doesn't prove that from the mother, you're not brothers.
Okay, no, I hear. No, he's saying it's one of the ways of being brothers, but it could be if they all had the same mom and different dads, and they would also say we have brothers, right? So let's see. So Av Kaminav. So Gemara says I Velamali, but why do you need that? Right? It says Mishpachto. It says from his family. V'yaresh Isa. See, Mishpach. So it says over there. Where's this Gimel? Is this going back to the pasuk? Yeah. So it says back in the pasuk, right? So he says if there's no uncles, then he give it to the nachla to the relative who's closest to him, mishpachto b'yarish hasak. See, mishpachas ab kari mishpacha, mishpachas aim ain't a kari mishpacha, right? Only the mishpacha of the father, right? Is who says mishpacha sam lebeis avos sam, right? So in other words, this proof is also deflected, and therefore we can go back to whenever we say the word mishpacha. We said the mishpacha sam the base avoisam, right? The mishpacha aim mishpacha. One says you're right. And that which Rabbah said, this whole drasha of we are brothers over there, that was only said Le'in and Yibum. That was said by Yibum. Alan, so over there, by Yibum, they are called brothers, and only by Yibum it's the paternal brothers. But not a maternal brother will not go ahead and take his deceased maternal brother's wife for Yibum. Fine, we'll get a little bit ahead. We'll do 2 minutes. Right? So it says, so how do we know that a person inherits his mother? Now, a person inherits his mother, but a mother does not inherit her son. Now we're in category number 2. So we didn't know that. But not immediately. The Tanna Rabbanan we learned in the Bryce, it says, V'chol bas. V'chol bas Yereshus nachla mimatos b'nei Yisrael. So he says over there, any girl who's going to go ahead and inherit from her father should not go ahead and marry from another shevet. So hey, bas Yereshus shnei matos. How can you have a girl go ahead and inherit from 2 different? Zela zu shavia mishevet echad ve'ima mishevet echad. And her father's from one shevet and her mother's from another shevet. Umesu, and they both die, and they inherit. And she inherits from them. And then she gets married to a guy from another shevet, and then either her husband inherits it or her child inherits it, right? But you're just done. So it says, Ainli Elabas, I only know a daughter can go ahead and inherit. So we see it clearly from there that you can inherit from your mother, right? Because the mother had assets from her father, right? And therefore, she must have got it. And now the child gets it. Ainli Elabas, I only know a daughter can go ahead and inherit from her mother. So Ben, how do we know this? And go ahead and inherit from his mother. So just like a daughter who does not have a good position when it comes to the inheritance of her own father, because her brother has better position, in other words, her brother gets over her. But when it comes to the mother, we see she inherits her mother. So a son who has a strong position with his father, and a din, certainly has a good position also with his mother, and a son inherits his mother. And just like over there, and just like over there, inheriting from the father, the son comes before the sister, or the son comes before the daughter. Afkan, so to over here, when the mother dies, right? And who inherits her? So Afkan, Ben Kaidin Labas. A son inherits before his sister when it comes to his mother. And therefore we see clearly that a son does indeed inherit his mother. Stop here. Everybody. Good fittel. Everyone have a wonderful day. And Rami is brown. Everyone needs help building your sukkah, right? Rami's service for anyone. Shkaya, hope you got a good Google Nasser, by the way.
All good.
All right.
Yeah, they got him. All good.
I hope you
Have a great day.
negotiated well.
Not me. That's their job.
He smelled out you guys are Americans. You overpaid.
That's right. Well, I let my boys, the yeshiva boys, do the negotiating.
Very nice. All right. Well,
All
see you.
right.
Take care.
Have a great
Andy.
day.
Well, see you tomorrow.
Yep, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hopefully. All right. Bye.